Part 1/5. New Market, a Grand Essay. Part 1. Origins, First Impressions, and the Spirit of a Bazaar. The name New Market carries a special rhythm. At first, it sounds simple, merely a place to shop, but anyone who has walked through its century-old archways knows that New Market is not just a marketplace. It is a memory, a conversation, a festival of sounds, smells, colors, and human stories woven together across time. When we speak of New Market, we often mean the iconic Hog Market of Kolkata, built in the late 19th century, sitting proudly at the heart of the city. Yet the meaning of New Market is bigger than its red brick structure. It represents how cities grow, how cultures meet, how trade shapes lives, and how tradition somehow survives even as modern malls rise around it. Standing at the entrance for the first time, a visitor does not merely see a building. They step into history. A market born from a city's need. Kolkata of the British era was bustling. Traders, clerks, soldiers, aristocrats, and travelers filled the streets. Life was changing fast. The British administrators wanted an organized bazaar where goods would be arranged neatly, prices could be regulated, and European shoppers could buy imported cheese, meat, and confectionery. Thus, in the 1870s, the plan was drawn. Brick by brick, corridor by corridor, New Market took shape. It was elegant, grand, and carefully structured. Later it was named after Sir Stuart Hogg, but the people always preferred the simpler name, New Market. Over time, the market began to belong not only to those who ruled the city but to everyone who lived in it. From wealthy households buying delicate china to students searching for inexpensive notebooks, all kinds of lives brushed past one another. A market, after all, is not only about buying and selling. It is about relationships. Corridors full of stories. To truly know New Market, one must slow down and walk, not rush, but glide like a curious observer. Narrow lanes open into wider ones. Stalls glow with lamps, and voices overlap in rhythmic chaos. Shopkeepers call out with warm familiarity. Dada, Ekbar Dika Yan. Madam, perfect price, only for you. Quote. There is always negotiation here, always conversation. A price is never simply stated. It is danced around, argued over, laughed through. Bargaining becomes an art, and both sides enjoy the performance. Behind every counter stands a person with a long story. A fourth-generation jeweler polishing silver anklets. A florist whose grandfather once supplied garlands to colonial parties. A baker roasting trays of biscuits that smell like childhood. A leather craftsman cutting fine wallets by hand. Some have inherited stalls, while others came from distant villages dreaming of opportunity. Slowly, through patience, they built loyal customers who return again and again. Colors and smells that shape memory. Markets are emotional places, and New Market is especially rich with sensory experiences. Walk past the flower section and suddenly the air fills with jasmine, rose, marigold, tuberose. Move further and the fragrance changes, to spices, incense, fresh bread, roasted nuts, and sometimes the raw smell of fish and meat. The visual world is equally enchanting. Vibrant saris layered like waterfalls of silk. Sparkling bangles that catch the light like miniature galaxies. Toys, umbrellas, souvenirs, clocks, lanterns, shoes, handbags, and fabrics in every shade imaginable. Children pull at their parents' hands in excitement. Elderly shoppers walk slowly, remembering past decades when the shops looked slightly different but the heart of the market was the same. The market is a mirror of society. New Market does not exist by itself, it grows with the city. When radios became popular, shops selling them blossomed. When plastic arrived, items changed. When mobile phones came, corners started buzzing with chargers and phone covers. Each era leaves its signature in the lanes. This shows something important. A market is a mirror of society's needs. People come here not just because things are cheaper, but because shopping becomes a ritual. Instead of clicking a button online, they want to talk, compare, touch, ask, doubt, argue, decide, and then finally buy, feeling satisfied that they have participated in the life of the place. Markets like these teach lessons about human behavior, economics, and culture. They show how trust is built over many years. A shopkeeper who cheats once loses reputation forever. Another who smiles, listens, and treats customers kindly is remembered with affection. Between nostalgia and modernity. Today, around New Market stand shining malls, glass-fronted shops, fast food chains, and international brands. Some say that the age of traditional markets is ending. But walk inside and you will see life continuing fiercely. Young people still come, not only to shop, but to experience atmosphere. They buy from old stalls and then take selfies near arches that have watched generations grow up. Even modern vendors adapt, adding online payment, digital catalogs, and delivery services. Thus, New Market lives in two worlds at once. Past, with memories of horse carriages and colonial evenings. Present, with smartphones, cafes, and busy crowds. Instead of vanishing, it evolves. New Market beyond geography. At another level, New Market also means new opportunities in business, economics, and society. Every time a community discovers a new demand, a metaphorical new market is born. Just like the real New Market of Kolkata, such spaces shape livelihoods and cultures. They may be digital, rural, urban, local, or global, but their roots are the same: human connection, trust, and value. This dual meaning makes the subject fascinating. To understand New Market is to understand history and heritage, trade and innovation, human relationships and social change. And this is why the story deserves a long essay like the one we are building together. New Market, a grand essay. Part 2. Architecture, legendary corners, festivals, and everyday lives. Standing beneath the proud Gothic arches of New Market, one cannot help admiring the thought and discipline with which the structure was planned. Unlike the casual sprawl of many bazaars, New Market shows an organized skeleton, like a cathedral of commerce. Architecture that holds memory. The red brick facade, high roofs, and pointed arches reflect British architectural taste. Yet, the building does not feel foreign anymore. Over the decades, the city has wrapped it gently into its heart. The bricks have weathered monsoons and summers, absorbing laughter, arguments, music, and footsteps. Wide corridors were designed deliberately to allow easy airflow. High ceilings prevent heat from trapping inside. Natural light slopes through the openings, falling softly on the baskets of fruits, rolls of fabric, and polished mirrors. The floor plan, at first glance, seems like a maze, but it is actually logical. Sections were mapped carefully. Flowers in one part, fish and meat in another. Clothes and textiles in long, parallel lanes. Jewelry, leather goods, toys, and souvenirs distributed with thoughtful rhythm. One can get lost on the first visit, but soon familiarities form. The turn near the bakery becomes a landmark. The little tea stall beside the stationery shop becomes a meeting point. Architecture quietly teaches orientation and belonging. The magic of sections. Markets survive because they specialize. New Market is famous for its carefully crafted sections, each possessing its own personality. 1. The Flower Market. Early morning, before traffic conquers the streets, the flower lanes burst awake. Petals spread like carpets. Buckets overflow. Vendors sit cross-legged, weaving garlands faster than the eye can follow. Their fingers move with years of training, tying memories together. Flowers in New Market are not only for worship. They decorate weddings, birthdays, theater stages, school programs, and funerals. Through them, joy and sorrow both pass quietly. 2. The meat and fish area. Not for the faint-hearted, this section reveals the raw honesty of food supply. But it is also a lesson in discipline and hygiene. Butchers slice carefully, wrap cleanly, and answer countless questions about freshness. Housewives and chefs inspect carefully. Negotiations still happen, but there is also respect. Take the best cut. I know your family likes it tender. Quote. Trust again stands at the center. 3. The sari and textile lanes. Here the heart of artistry beats loudly. Racks display. Benarosi silks with intricate embroidery. Handloom cottons breathing simplicity. Chiffon saris floating like air. Printed fabrics carrying modern designs. Shopkeepers spread saris across counters like magicians unveiling secrets. Customers touch, drape, imagine. Decisions are rarely rushed. A wedding sari may take hours to choose, and such patience is valued. 4. Leather and handicrafts. In another corridor, the smell changes to leather polish. Wallets, belts, handbags, travel bags, all lined up in disciplined rows. Many of these are handcrafted. Stitch by stitch, artisans add durability. Some stalls have been run by the same family for decades. A grandfather started with a single table. Today the grandchildren manage a chain of counters but retain humility. Souvenir shops nearby glitter with lamps, bells, keychains, and little pieces of Bengal's craft heritage. Tourists love this section, and vendors enjoy explaining the history behind each object. 5. The legendary bakeries and confectionaires. Perhaps nothing evokes nostalgia like the bakeries of Newmarket. Glass cases filled with pastries, plum cakes, cookies, patties, and rolls invite both the eyes and heart. The ovens have seen entire eras pass, from colonial tea parties to student gatherings and festival celebrations. During Christmas, queues curl around corners. Fruit cakes are booked weeks in advance. Families proudly carry carefully wrapped boxes as if holding tradition itself. Festivals. When Newmarket becomes a universe. Markets always feel more alive during festivals, but Newmarket reaches another dimension. Durga Puja. Before Durga Puja, the entire city dresses up, and Newmarket becomes its tailor. Crowds flood textiles, cosmetics, footwear, and jewelry stalls. Conversations rise like ocean waves. Friends meet unexpectedly. Children try on new clothes with sparkling eyes. Tailors sit late at night, stitching dreams into fabric. The air vibrates with excitement and hope. Eid. Before Eid, the sweet shops and clothing lanes glow with fresh life. Perfumes, caps, sherwanis, bangles, and traditional dresses find eager buyers. Happiness feels shared, even strangers greet one another with warmth. Christmas. December transforms Newmarket into a European-style carnival blended with Indian cheer. Fairy lights drape across arches. Trees, bells, Santa hats, and ornaments appear everywhere. Bakeries receive endless orders. Carols float in the distance. People of every background come simply to walk, admire, and feel festive, because Newmarket belongs to everyone. The invisible heroes. Behind the bright counters stand many unseen workers who rarely receive credit. Sweepers cleaning after closing time. Loaders carrying heavy goods through narrow paths. Electricians fixing wires silently. Guards watching doorways. Tea vendors who fuel tired shopkeepers. Their efforts keep the market breathing. Without them, order would collapse. Recognizing them reminds us, a city's success often rests on shoulders that remain anonymous. Lessons hidden in the lanes. If we read Newmarket like a textbook, it teaches countless lessons. Economics in action. We see supply and demand visibly shaping price. Seasonal variations influence cost. Imported goods fluctuate with currency changes. Bargaining becomes an informal negotiation system where both buyer and seller protect their interests while maintaining respect. Sociology and culture. Here communities meet peacefully. Language barriers melt. A Tamil tourist, a Bengali grandmother, a European traveler, and a Northeastern student may stand side by side, yet communication still happens through gestures and smiles. Psychology of shopping. Shoppers rarely buy only with logic. Emotions decide. A sari reminds someone of a wedding memory. A cake fills the mind with childhood Sundays. A simple keychain becomes a souvenir of a joyful day. Markets turn material objects into emotional anchors. Newmarket and the rise of malls. With modern malls growing nearby, some feared Newmarket would die. But instead, something interesting happened. Malls provide air conditioning, escalators, fixed prices, and glossy brands. They attract crowds, but they cannot fully replace the warmth of personal connection. In New Market, customers know the shopkeepers by name. They chat, seek advice, exchange stories. Children are remembered even after years. A regular buyer might receive a discount not listed anywhere, simply as appreciation. Thus, instead of competing on luxury, New Market competes on humanity and authenticity. A place of firsts. For many teenagers in the city, their first independent shopping trip happens here. Their first bargain, their first sense of managing money, their first taste of street snacks shared with friends. For couples, it might hold memories of early dates, strolling through lanes, laughing, buying small gifts. For parents, it stores memories of buying school uniforms, festival clothes, and birthday cakes. The market gradually becomes woven into family history. New Market, a grand essay. Part 3. Change, Resilience, and the Meaning of New in New Market. Markets are living organisms. They grow, adapt, suffer shocks, and heal. New Market has survived fires, floods, economic downturns, political changes, and stiff competition, yet it still stands, breathing with quiet dignity. To understand why, we must look beneath the surface. When the old meets the new. Walk through New Market today and you will notice an interesting sight. A century-old shop displays carpets beside LED lights. A leather stall accepts digital payments through QR codes. The same hand that once wrote receipts with blue ink now taps numbers on a smartphone screen. This coexistence is remarkable. The vendors did not learn technology in big classrooms. They learned slowly, through curiosity and necessity. When customers began preferring online payments, they adapted. When online shopping rose, they displayed items on social platforms. Some even began home delivery services. The spirit of New Market was never about resisting change, it was about absorbing it creatively. The challenge of online shopping. The arrival of e-commerce seemed like a storm. Suddenly, customers could sit at home, scroll through thousands of products, compare prices instantly, and have everything delivered to their door. Many predicted that traditional marketplaces like New Market would fade. But again, the story took another turn. People realized something was missing online. The joy of touching fabric. The excitement of bargaining. The human warmth of conversation. The assurance of seeing the seller again if any problem occurred. In New Market, buying becomes an experience, not just a transaction. Even those who shop online often return here during festivals or special occasions. The market offers something intangible, a connection to roots. Stories of resilient shopkeepers. Behind every stall, there is a personal journey. Consider a few imagined yet realistic portraits that reflect thousands of real lives. The bookseller. Once his stall overflowed with school textbooks and storybooks. Then digital devices arrived, sales dropped. Instead of giving up, he changed direction. He began selling exam guides, rare secondhand novels, diaries, and handmade bookmarks. Slowly customers returned, not only for books, but for conversation. He recommended titles thoughtfully, becoming more a guide than a salesman. The tailor. He inherited a tiny shop. For years he stitched blouses and salwar suits. When fashion trends shifted, he attended workshops, learned new cuts, and watched videos late at night. Today his stall offers designer fits, alterations, and creative custom work. Brides consult him for last-minute touches. His needle did not grow old, it evolved. The florist. Rising costs threatened his business. Flowers are delicate, waste was high. He started taking pre-orders through messaging apps, created small curated bouquets, and tied up with decorators. Waste reduced, income stabilized. His smile grew more confident. These stories reveal a deeper truth. Markets survive when people inside them are willing to learn. A market that teaches entrepreneurship. For anyone dreaming of business, New Market is a real-world classroom. It teaches lessons that no textbook fully captures. Lesson 1. Start small, grow steady. Many stalls began as a single counter laid with a cloth. Profit came slowly. Patience mattered more than speed. Over time, trust accumulated, and trust is the strongest currency. Lesson 2. Listen to customers. A good shopkeeper observes carefully. Which colors attract? Which price points scare people away? Which words comfort? Which trends repeat? Listening becomes strategy. Lesson 3. Relationships are assets. A loyal customer is not built through discounts alone. They stay because they feel respected. They receive suggestions suited to their taste rather than being forced into unnecessary purchases. New Market shows that business is ultimately human. The larger idea of new market in economics. Beyond Kolkata, the phrase new market has economic meaning. It refers to fresh areas of demand, newly developing industries, regions, or consumer groups. Whenever technology changes life, a new market emerges. Smartphones created an app economy. Electric vehicles created green transport markets. Organic farming opened markets for healthy food. Tourism created markets for memories and experiences. Just like the physical new market, these spaces arise from human needs. Entrepreneurs identify gaps and build bridges. They study behavior, analyze demand, and innovate. But economic theory alone cannot explain success. Ethics also matters. A new market thrives only when it respects fairness, transparency, sustainability, environmental responsibility. Otherwise, growth becomes temporary. Sustainability and responsibility. Traditional markets actually teach surprising lessons about sustainability. In new market, items are often repaired, altered, or reused. Packaging is simpler compared to heavily wrapped mall products. Local artisans receive direct livelihood support. Seasonal produce reduces storage waste. Of course, there are challenges: waste management, crowd control, infrastructure, but the roots are closer to nature than giant industrial supply chains. If modern development combines technology with the wisdom of traditional markets, we create systems that are both efficient and humane. A place where generations meet. One of the most touching sights in New Market is the meeting of generations. A grandparent walks slowly beside a child, telling stories. I used to come here with your mother when she was your age. Quote. The child listens, eyes wide, absorbing history not from books but from footsteps. The market becomes a living museum, not frozen, but alive. Teenagers learn bargaining from elders. Young adults learn responsibility by managing family shopping. Elders feel connected to the present through laughter of children running past stalls. Thus, New Market becomes not only an economic zone but a social bridge between past and future. Nightfall in the market. As evening deepens, shutters begin to roll down with metallic echoes. Shopkeepers count cash, note remaining stock, share tea, and joke about the day's incidents. The lanes grow quieter, yet a soft energy remains. Tomorrow the doors will open again, and life will restart. New customers, new conversations, new possibilities. The rhythm repeats, forming a heartbeat for the city. New Market, a grand essay. Part 4. Identity, tourism, challenges, and the delicate art of preservation. Cities often have many markets, but only a few become symbols. New Market is one such symbol. It represents Kolkata to visitors in the same way the Eiffel Tower represents Paris or the Grand Bazaar represents Istanbul, not in size, but in soul. New Market is identity. If someone leaves Kolkata and lives abroad for years, memories do not always cling to skyscrapers or airports. Instead, they return to ordinary places that shape their emotions: the street corner, the tea stall, the neighborhood park, the marketplace. For countless Kolkatans, New Market is woven into identity. A first job salary spent on buying gifts. Wedding shopping with family members laughing together. College friends roaming aimlessly, sharing snacks and stories. Buying sweets and cakes before visiting relatives. These moments create invisible threads that tie people to the city even when life pulls them far away. A magnet for tourists. Tourists arrive at New Market for many reasons: curiosity, recommendation, or pure chance. But they usually leave with something more than souvenirs. Guides often describe it as a place where you feel the city breathe. Travelers walk through corridors absorbing sounds they do not fully understand, yet somehow they feel welcome. Shopkeepers speak multiple languages, sometimes broken, sometimes fluent, always friendly. A tourist may come for handicrafts and end up learning local phrases. They might bargain shyly, laugh at their own mistakes, and take photographs of colorful lanes. Tourism here is not only about seeing, it is about participating. Food, the companion of every market. No market feels complete without food, and New Market thrives with it. From street vendors to small restaurants, from bakeries to snack stalls, the range is wide. Steaming momos served with spicy chutney. Rolls stuffed with chicken, egg, or paneer. Fuchka bursting with tangy tamarind water. Sweets that melt like music on the tongue. Traditional meals that comfort tired shoppers. Food becomes conversation. Strangers share tables. Hungry children suddenly regain energy. Teenagers take selfies before taking bites. Food softens bargaining fatigue and turns shopping into celebration. The rhythm of work. Every morning, New Market awakens with a routine that feels almost choreographed. Trucks unload goods. Vendors arrange their displays. Plastic sheets are removed. Floors are swept and sprinkled with water. Lights flicker on like stars across the roof. Shops open at different speeds, some slowly, some with eager haste. Early customers arrive with precise lists, casual visitors wander lazily. By afternoon, the corridors swell like rivers in monsoon. Movement becomes collective, yet somehow fluid. By evening, the rhythm shifts again, slower, reflective, tired yet satisfied. This cycle is not accidental. It has been refined through decades of habit. Everyone knows their part. Without any written script, a giant market functions like a single well-coordinated organism. The challenges New Market faces. Every heritage space carries beauty but also burden. New Market faces significant challenges that test its strength and future. Overcrowding. Popularity brings pressure. During festivals, lanes become dense with people. Walking itself feels like swimming through a human ocean. Overcrowding increases risks. Difficulty moving elderly or children. Chances of pickpocketing. Stress on infrastructure. Managing flow requires planning, cooperation, and patience. Waste and cleanliness. A busy market inevitably generates waste. Food remains, plastic wrappers, packaging, flower stems. While cleaning teams work hard, the challenge persists. Modern systems like better bins, recycling zones, and awareness programs could help. Cleanliness is not only the responsibility of authorities, it belongs to everyone who uses the market. Fire safety and maintenance. Old structures need care. Wires age. Roofs leak. Wooden parts weaken. Periodic fires in market history remind us that safety cannot be ignored. Preservation requires regular inspections. Modern firefighting systems. Awareness among shopkeepers. Strict rules against risky electrical setups. Heritage and safety must cooperate instead of standing apart. Competition from malls and e-commerce. Even though New Market remains strong, competition never sleeps. New malls, brand outlets, online platforms, and discount festivals constantly tempt customers. To survive, New Market must continue evolving. Better signage for easier navigation. Improved lighting and ventilation. Updated payment systems. Organized marketing as a heritage destination. The aim is not to imitate malls, but to highlight its unique strengths. Preservation without freezing time. Some people believe heritage means keeping everything exactly as it was. But a market is not a museum. If it freezes, it dies. True preservation means protecting soul, not forcing stillness. Keep the arches, corridors, and historical sections. Maintain cultural atmosphere and local ownership. Allow modernization that improves safety and comfort. Encourage training programs for shopkeepers. The challenge is delicate, like balancing an old lamp while changing its oil. Government, community, and responsibility. Preservation cannot be left to one group alone. Government plays a role through infrastructure, regulations, sanitation, and protection laws. But the heartbeat comes from the people. Vendors keeping honesty and quality. Customers respecting spaces. Youth joining with fresh ideas. Civic groups advocating improvements. Markets survive when they become shared projects of pride. New Market is a classroom of life. Students sometimes study economics from textbooks filled with graphs and theories. Yet a single long walk in New Market can teach more vividly. They can observe the psychology of pricing, how competition shapes behavior, how reputation acts like invisible capital, how every stall depends on many others in hidden networks. Life itself becomes the teacher. Children learn politeness, patience, and confidence, how to speak, how to ask, how to decide. Adults learn budgeting and prioritizing. Elderly people find companionship. Markets show that communal spaces are vital for mental and social health. Memory as architecture. We usually think of architecture as bricks and cement. But New Market proves that architecture is also memory. Each arch holds echoes. Lovers whispering quietly. Families laughing loudly. Children worrying over lost balloons. Shopkeepers telling jokes to lighten long days. Years accumulate layer upon layer. Even when some shops close, new ones open, yet the emotional essence remains. Buildings age, but memories keep them glowing from inside. When travelers return. A traveler may visit New Market once and promise themselves they will come again. Some do, after 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. They walk through lanes slowly, realizing that although some details have changed, something feels comfortingly familiar. Like a childhood song, the market has a refrain. They might not recognize faces, but they recognize atmosphere, that mixture of noise, warmth, chaos, and care. And as they leave, they carry a sense that they have touched the true pulse of Kolkata. New Market, a grand essay. Part 5. Futures, Metaphors, and the Endless Heartbeat of a Market. As we near the end of this long journey through New Market, we realize that writing about it is like walking through it. There is always another turn, another story, another perspective waiting just ahead. No description can ever feel fully complete, because the market itself continues to change every single day. What makes a place truly alive? Some places exist only on maps, dry dots without emotion. Others exist in songs, conversations, nostalgia, and longing. New Market belongs to the second category. A place becomes alive when people build memories there. Stories grow quietly. Communities gather without invitation. Everyday routines turn mysterious and beautiful upon reflection. In such places, architecture is only the outer shell. The true heartbeat lies in relationships. The philosophy hidden in New Market. If we look closely, New Market teaches deeper lessons beyond shopping and business. Impermanence and renewal. Nothing in the market stays exactly the same. Shops open, close, relocate. Prices rise and fall. Trends appear and fade. People grow older, children replace them. Yet the market remains alive. This mirrors human life. Change is constant, but continuity lies in spirit. We grieve when a favorite shop disappears, yet soon we discover another corner offering fresh kindness. Life quietly teaches resilience. Diversity without division. Inside the lanes, people differ in language, faith, caste, income, and background, yet transactions continue with respect. Festival decorations reflect multiple cultures living side by side. This simple daily cooperation is more powerful than speeches. It proves that coexistence is possible when human dignity is honored. Value beyond money. Many visitors leave the market smiling even after spending very little. The gift they carry is not just material, it is experience. Conversations, smiles, smells, and sights become part of memory. Thus, value is not only measured in currency but in connection. The future. What might New Market become? Imagining the future, we do not see New Market turning into a museum nor dissolving into anonymity. Instead, a wiser path appears, one that blends preservation with progress. Possible future steps might include improved cleanliness systems and recycling units, digital maps and signboards to guide visitors, heritage walks organized for students and tourists, workshops for artisans to upgrade skills, eco-friendly packaging replacing plastic, better lighting, ventilation, and safety measures, storytelling exhibitions about its history. Such improvements need not erase character. They can strengthen pride while protecting livelihood. Markets as guardians of culture. Culture does not survive only in books or classical performances. It lives also in daily habits, the way we greet a shopkeeper, the foods we share, the practices we follow before festivals. New Market acts as a cultural guardian. It preserves local crafts, regional textiles, traditional recipes, rituals of celebration. Losing places like this would mean losing pieces of ourselves. The broader meaning of New Market. Throughout this essay, we explored not only the physical new market but also the concept of new markets in economics and society. The two ideas reflect each other. A new market, whether digital, technological, or geographical, emerges when people discover new needs. Entrepreneurs respond with creativity. Competition sharpens quality. Society moves forward. Yet growth must remain ethical, sustainable, and kind. The physical new market shows us how. It did not grow through greed alone. It grew through patience, reputation, and human connection. Any future, new market, anywhere in the world, succeeds only when it respects those foundations. Personal reflections, a walk at dusk. Imagine leaving New Market at dusk. The sky is turning orange. The smell of fresh bread fades behind you. Laughter echoes from a toy stall. Someone rolls down a shutter with a loud metallic sound. A stray dog trots lazily beside a tea stall. A child holds tightly onto a new balloon. You pause at the gate and look back. You realize you have not simply shopped. You have touched a world built from countless small efforts, a world that has survived famine, colonial rule, independence, modernization, and globalization. The market feels like a living diary written by millions of hands. Why this story matters. Writing such a long essay is not only about describing a place. It is about recognizing the hidden depth of everyday spaces. Many times, we rush through life without noticing the poetry quietly unfolding around us. New Market teaches us to slow down, observe, listen, appreciate. Appreciate the patience of the shopkeeper. Appreciate the craft of the artisan. Appreciate the courage of families starting businesses with limited means. Appreciate heritage that bridges generations. When we value such spaces, we value humanity itself. Final thoughts. New Market stands at the beautiful crossroad between old and new, memory and ambition, tradition and innovation, chaos and order, individual dreams and collective identity. It reminds us that markets are not just about buying and selling, they are about living and belonging. Perhaps, years from now, the arches will still stand. New generations will walk through them. They will bargain, laugh, explore, and create their own stories. They may not know every detail of history, but they will feel something warm, a sense that they are part of a long, continuing narrative. And that is the true magic of New Market. Extended sections, continuing the grand essay on New Market. Chapter: The Birth of a Landmark. To understand New Market fully, we must rewind time. Imagine Kolkata in the late 1800s. The city is transforming rapidly. Carriages roll along uneven roads. Trams begin appearing slowly. The Hooghly River carries ships from distant lands. The British administration is determined to give the city a grand commercial identity, one that reflects both power and planning. Local bazaars already exist, but they are scattered, often chaotic, lacking organization. Shopkeepers sit under makeshift roofs. Rain floods the lanes easily. Hygiene is inconsistent. Out of this historical context, the idea of New Market rises. It isn't merely a shopping center. It is a statement. Here is order. Here is modernity. Here is the marketplace of the future. Quote, the early planners envision a space where Europeans and wealthy elites could shop comfortably. But history has a sense of irony. What was built for a few gradually becomes a treasure for everyone. And that may be the greatest victory of all. The architectural dialogue with time. When you look carefully at the arches of New Market, they seem to speak. They whisper. We have seen horse carts. We have seen trams rattling outside. We have seen fuel-driven cars racing past. We have seen smartphones, internet deliveries, QR codes, and digital banking. Few structures in any city witness such profound technological transitions while continuing to serve the same essential purpose, connecting buyers and sellers. Architecture becomes memory wrapped in brick. A person may visit for just 15 minutes, yet the building has stood there waiting for more than a century, patient, observant, loyal. The human geography of New Market. Beyond individual stalls, there is something deeper, an entire geography of emotions and activities. Certain lanes attract certain personalities. Bargainers who love negotiating gather in particular textile rows. Elderly shoppers move slowly through quieter corners. Tourists follow guides, stopping often, amazed by small details. Children pull their parents toward toy shops, balloons, and sweets. Each lane has its soundscape. Some are noisy, full of calls and laughter. Others remain surprisingly calm, filled with quiet conversations and thoughtful decisions. In this way, the market feels like a miniature city inside a larger one. Life lessons hidden between stalls. Children who grow up visiting New Market don't realize they are subconsciously learning skills. They learn how to calculate quickly, how to judge quality by touch, how to maintain politeness while negotiating, how to observe body language, how to recognize honesty versus deception. These are not textbook lessons. They are life competencies. A young boy helping his parents buy groceries develops confidence. A teenage girl choosing her first sari discovers independence. A college student budgeting carefully learns discipline. And years later, they remember that small training ground fondly. The voices of shopkeepers. If New Market wrote an autobiography, its pages would be filled with voices of vendors. Each vendor carries a personal dream, a family story, struggles, hopes for children, stories of success and failure. Some migrated from distant villages searching for livelihood. Others inherited stalls from their fathers and grandfathers. They measure time not in months but in festival seasons. Durga Puja was great that year. Christmas sales dipped during that monsoon. Eid brought smiles last summer. Quote, their lives are intertwined with the market's rhythm. Market closes late, they still smile. Market opens early, they still arrive. Their resilience is quietly heroic. Invisible systems of trust. No market survives long without trust. Trust in weight, trust in quality, trust in price, trust in relationship. In New Market, many regular customers don't inspect every detail. They simply say, give me what's good, I know you. Quote. That sentence is powerful. It represents years of consistent honesty, something even billion-dollar corporations struggle to achieve. The young entrepreneur's dream. Imagine a young person with limited funds but great determination. Opening a huge showroom in a mall may be impossible. Rents are high, investments enormous, risks terrifying. But a small stall in New Market, that feels achievable. A single table, a few products, 1,000 dreams. Slowly, day by day, they expand, reinvesting, saving, improving. Some eventually own multiple shops. Others send children to universities using market income. In that journey, New Market becomes a launching platform. The sensory symphony. Close your eyes and think of New Market not visually, but sensorially. Sounds. Footsteps overlapping. Bargaining tones rising. Shutters clanking. Distant laughter. Vendors calling out offers. Plastic bags crackling. Motorcycles humming nearby. Smells. Fresh bread. Spices. Perfume. Leather. Flowers. Incense near religious shops. Textures. Softness of silk. Roughness of jute. Coolness of glass counters. Crisp paper bags. Together, they create a symphony no online marketplace can imitate. The market at different hours of the day. Morning. Preparation and arrangement, calm preparation energy. Afternoon. Momentum, busy lanes, crowded decisions. Evening. Exhaustion and satisfaction, slower pace, reflective conversations. Night. Silence, only guards and distant streetlights remain. This daily cycle repeats endlessly, like breathing. Festivals in deeper detail. We touched on festivals earlier, but they deserve longer, richer description. Durga Puja season. Weeks before the festival, shops overflow with new stock. Tailors barely sleep. Families arrive carrying notebooks with detailed lists. Children argue over colors. Music plays louder. Prices fluctuate, but bargaining continues enthusiastically. The market becomes an ocean of brightness. Eid season. Fragrances of attar spread gently. Shimmering fabrics attract attention. Sweet shops display trays like jewels. Families plan feasts. Greetings are exchanged warmly. Faith blends seamlessly with festivity. Christmas season. This is perhaps the most globally recognizable transformation. Fairy lights everywhere. Bakeries overflowing. Decorations shining. Carols sometimes floating through the breeze. People who are not even Christian still join the celebration, because joy belongs to everyone. Layers of history that tourists rarely see. Tourists often photograph stalls, but beneath each stall lies buried history. New Market has survived fires, rebuilt roofs, changed layouts, endured economic crises, watched political movements, seen pandemics disrupt flow, recovered again and again. This repeated recovery forms its true strength. Criticisms, because honesty matters. Praising without acknowledging flaws is incomplete. New Market faces real issues. Inadequate modern toilets in some parts. Garbage accumulation in peak seasons. Occasional electrical hazards. Informal vendors overcrowding passages. Counterfeit goods appearing at times. Lack of organized emergency systems. Pointing out weaknesses is not disrespect, it is love demanding improvement. What happens when children grow up? Children who once visited while holding their parents' hands later return with their own children. The cycle continues. And that continuity transforms New Market from a market into a tradition. Why people miss it when they leave the city. Someone moves to Delhi. Another moves abroad. Another lives in a tech-driven city full of malls. Yet when they return home, they crave New Market. Why? Because it carries the authenticity of community. Touchable history. Familiarity wrapped in chaos. Identity that feels real. It reminds them who they are. New Market, continued. Layers of memory, commerce, and human experience. To understand New Market deeply, we must walk slowly, not only across its tiles and corridors, but across time, emotions, and perspectives. Every generation has seen it differently, and each viewpoint adds another layer to its meaning. 1. The market as a classroom. Markets are among humanity's oldest learning spaces. Long before formal schools existed, people learned how to weigh value, how to negotiate, how to observe quality, how to read faces and voices, how to survive through skill. A child walking through New Market receives an education that no textbook can replace. They watch their parents bargain. They see how politeness sometimes achieves more than stubbornness. They understand that behind every price is labor, risk, rent, fear of losses, hope for profit. A shopkeeper becomes a silent teacher. A customer becomes a student of life. 2. Invisible labor. Who makes the market possible? When visitors admire New Market, they often see the bright displays, the chilled drinks, the shining shoes. But behind that brightness lies a network of invisible labor. Labor. Early morning workers. Before dawn, people arrive to sweep floors, carry boxes from trucks, wipe counters, cut blocks of ice, arrange vegetables, dust shelves. Their work is unglamorous, repetitive, essential. The middle layer, helpers and assistants. Many shops employ young assistants who are learning the trade. They memorize product names. They understand customer moods. They stand long hours without complaint. They send money home at the end of the month. Some eventually open their own shops one day. Others remain lifetime assistants, working with quiet dignity. Night workers. After the shutters fall, another shift begins. Security guards. Cleaners. Loading crews. Electricians fixing failing bulbs. Vendors preparing the next day's stock. The market never really sleeps. It only changes rhythms. 3. Stories of courage and small victories. Markets are full of unsung heroes. Imagine a widow who opens a small stall to raise her children. Imagine a migrant worker who starts with a pavement table and gradually rents a shop. Imagine artisans from distant villages finding recognition in urban shelves. These stories rarely make headlines, yet they hold immense power. One merchant may say, "This shop is my second home." Quote, not as a metaphor, but as literal truth. They spend most of their waking hours there. They celebrate inside the shop. They worry inside the shop. They age inside the shop. Each day becomes part of their life diary. 4. Emotional geography. Why people return. Some visitors return not because prices are lowest, but because they feel understood. A familiar shopkeeper remembers shoe size, sari preference, favorite sweets, family occasions, special needs. This creates trust, and trust is the strongest currency in any market. A simple exchange such as, "Didi, the new stock came. This is exactly what you like." Quote, can make a customer feel valued. Meanwhile, tourists visit out of curiosity. They want to see something authentic, a place where real life happens, not an artificial mall environment. 5. Soundscapes of New Market. Close your eyes in New Market and listen. You will hear footsteps overlapping like rain, bargaining voices rising and falling, shutters clanging, packets rustling, laughter from small groups, soft radio music in distant shops, delivery carts rolling, street hawkers calling out items rhythmically. Sound becomes identity. If New Market went silent, it would feel haunted. Noise here is not disturbance. It is evidence of life. 6. Smells as memory markers. Smell holds memory more strongly than words. In one walk, you may inhale roasted peanuts, incense, perfume testers, wet earth after cleaning, fresh bread from bakeries, spices from grocers, leather polish, flowers for temples. Years later, encountering any of these scents elsewhere may suddenly transport you back to the corridors of New Market. 7. Food culture. A market feeds more than hunger. Food inside and around New Market plays multiple roles. Quick bites for workers. Cheap, filling meals keep vendors going all day. Tea in small glasses. Bread omelets. Samosas. Rolls. Rice plates in humble eateries. These stalls form an ecosystem of support for workers with limited time and money. Festive dining. Families often combine shopping with celebration. Biryani dinners. Ice cream evenings. Bakery cakes. Special treats during festivals. Eating becomes part of ritual. Whenever we shop there, we must eat here. Quote, cafes as conversation hubs. In certain corners, cafes become meeting spots. Students discuss exams. Couples share secrets. Friends laugh over memories. Elderly men recall how the market used to be. Quote, food, in this sense, becomes a companion to storytelling. 8. Festivals, when the market becomes a stage. During festivals, New Market transforms dramatically. Lights bloom across shop fronts. Colorful decorations fill the air. Crowds double, sometimes triple. For shopkeepers, festivals are both blessing and pressure. Sales increase, but so do responsibilities. They must stock correctly, maintain calm, manage long queues, stay patient despite exhaustion. Yet despite fatigue, there is joy, a sense of belonging to something larger than oneself. Festivals remind the market of its role, supplying symbols of happiness, hope, and celebration. 9. The tension between old and new. Modern malls offer air conditioning, uniform pricing, standardized interiors. They promise speed and comfort. So why does New Market survive? Because it offers something malls cannot. Personalization, bargaining culture, layered history, chance encounters, a sense of discovery. Still, the tension is real. Some fear modernization may erase identity. Others insist upgrades are necessary. The challenge is balance. Preserve character while improving infrastructure. Heritage does not mean freezing time. It means respecting roots while allowing functional growth. 10. Globalization enters the lanes. Global brands and imported products gradually appear, adding new possibilities but also creating competition. A local craftsman may suddenly find his handmade product displayed next to a factory-made cheaper alternative. Survival requires adaptation, improving quality, highlighting authenticity, telling the story behind the craft, using digital tools to reach customers. Markets like New Market become laboratories where globalization meets tradition, sometimes clashing, sometimes collaborating. 11. New Market is a microeconomy. If we examine New Market like economists, we find an intricate network. Wholesalers supplying retailers, retailers guiding customers, repair workers extending product lifespans, street vendors absorbing overflow demand, transporters ensuring movement of goods, eateries sustaining human energy, service workers maintaining functionality. Money flows in loops, not straight lines. One purchase may feed multiple families. A simple decision to buy a wallet or sari supports transporters, artisans, salespeople, cleaning staff, and hawkers indirectly. Markets remind us economy is human life expressed in transactions. 12. The psychology of bargaining. Bargaining often confuses outsiders. Why not simply set one final price? But bargaining is not merely economic. It is social negotiation. It establishes relationship. It acknowledges mutual respect. It allows flexibility depending on circumstances. It creates a sense of participation for customers. When done kindly, bargaining becomes playful, a verbal dance. When done rudely, it can hurt feelings. Skilled shopkeepers know where to draw the line between profit and goodwill. 13. Women in the market. Women play multiple roles in New Market. Shop owners, sales staff, artisans, accountants, customers making crucial household decisions. Historically, markets empowered many women to become financially independent. For some, working there was the first step toward self-confidence. Walking through the lanes, one witnesses women managing ledgers, negotiating supply deals, and confidently interacting with customers. They form a backbone rarely acknowledged. 14. Children in the market. Children appear as helpers in family shops, playful explorers, curious observers, enthusiastic buyers during festivals. For some children born into business families, the market becomes a playground of learning. They absorb patterns of trade without formal instruction. They develop emotional attachment to their family shop as if it were a relative. 15. Nightfall. Another world appears. When daylight fades, the character of the market shifts. Shadows stretch, shutters clink, neon lights flicker. A more contemplative tone settles in. Workers count the day's earnings. Some smile with relief, others worry about losses. Tea stalls stay open, offering companionship to tired souls. Night reveals vulnerability, the market without its energetic Night reveals vulnerability. For some children born into business families, the market becomes a playground of 15. Nightfall. Another world appears. When daylight fades, the character of the market shifts. Shadows stretch, shutters clink, neon lights flicker. A more contemplative tone settles in. Workers count the day's earnings. Some smile with relief, others worry about losses. Tea stalls stay open, offering companionship to tired souls. Night reveals vulnerability, the market without its energetic mask. Yet even in stillness, it holds dignity. New market, continued. The human drama within ordinary days. Markets like New Market appear chaotic at first glance. But if we slow down and observe, we realize the chaos has a rhythm, a pattern shaped by routine, necessity, and hope. 16. Hope is daily fuel. Many people who work in New Market live with uncertainty. Will enough customers come today? Will old debts be cleared? Will the supplier delay delivery? Will sudden rain keep visitors away? Yet, each morning they still unlock shutters. That act itself is symbolic, a small declaration of faith. Hope here is not loud or poetic. It is stable, stubborn, practical. It sits quietly beside the scales, registers, baskets, calculators, and shelves. Every evening, when shutters close, hope folds itself like cloth and waits patiently for tomorrow. 17. The language of hands. Words alone do not run the market. Hands do. Watch carefully. Fingers measure threads and fabrics. Palms weigh vegetables intuitively. Hands count notes swiftly. Wrists tie packets with practiced speed. Nails scratch price tags onto cardboard. Hands speak in gestures. A wave inviting customers in. A subtle sign indicating discount. A protective motion guarding fragile items. Hands in the market are storytellers. They reveal age, experience, exhaustion, and skill more honestly than faces sometimes do. 18. The role of memory in trade. A good shopkeeper remembers everything. Longtime customers' names. The cost price of hundreds of items. Seasonal variations in demand. The smell of fake leather versus real. Which supplier once cheated them? Which customers always return? Memory reduces risk. Memory creates loyalty. Memory becomes invisible capital that no one can steal. Newcomers often struggle not because they lack products, but because they lack this deep, accumulated memory. Over time, they learn that the market rewards patience and observation. 19. The ethics of selling. Not all markets are honest. Not all shopkeepers are saints. But many in New Market carry a personal code. You might hear someone saying, profit must never destroy reputation. Quote, reputation, unlike goods, cannot be replaced. Once lost, it spreads like rumor and can ruin generations of business. So ethical shopkeepers learn to warn customers about fragile goods. Refuse to exaggerate quality. Fix damaged items without extra charge sometimes. Apologize when mistakes happen. Their goal is not a single sale, but lifelong relationship. This simple ethical foundation quietly keeps the market stable. 20. Repair culture, extending the life of things. One of the most beautiful aspects of traditional markets is the presence of repair shops. In New Market, you may find watch repairers, cobblers, electronics fixers, tailors altering clothes, bag repair stalls, utensil menders. Repair culture teaches us that objects deserve second chances. In contrast, modern consumer culture often pushes us to throw away and replace. But repairers preserve not just items, they preserve memories. A repaired shoe becomes a story. A restored bag becomes gratitude. Repair culture is ecological wisdom embedded in daily life. 21. Weather and the market. Weather influences mood, flow, and business in dramatic ways. Rain. Rain creates puddles, leaks, slippery tiles. Customers hesitate. Workers rush to move goods away from wet areas. Some shops struggle, yet tea stalls bloom in business because rain invites hot tea. Heat. Summer heat slows movement. People bargain less aggressively because they are tired. Cold drinks sell more. Some shops install fans. Workers wipe sweat while still smiling. Winter. Winter evenings bring gentler crowds, warmer shawls, and calm conversations. Bakeries thrive, selling cakes and cookies. Weather writes its own chapters in the market's diary. 22. Architecture is story. The arches, corridors, and colonial-era structures in many new market complexes are more than aesthetic relics. They are historical witnesses. Some bricks have heard whispers of pre-independence conversations, fears during wartime, joy during festivals across decades, children turning into adults, then elders. Architecture frames the experience. Narrow passages force closeness, encouraging conversation. Courtyards open suddenly, giving emotional relief. Old signboards evoke nostalgia. Even cracks become lines of history. 23. Tourism, seeing the market through fresh eyes. Tourists often react with wonder at everyday sights locals take for granted. They photograph stacked fruits glowing like jewels, colorful textiles hanging in harmony, stalls overflowing with toys, bangles, masks, old men sitting calmly as if time belongs to them. Tourists ask questions locals never think about. Why is bargaining so important? How do people navigate without maps? How do shopkeepers keep track of everything? Quote, their curiosity reminds locals that this ordinary place is actually extraordinary. 24. The market and time. Time behaves differently in New Market. Morning feels slow and uncertain. Afternoon accelerates, voices multiply, footsteps blend. Evening becomes thick with urgency, last purchases, final decisions, shopkeepers calling out offers before closing. Yet, when you return years later, the market somehow feels unchanged, even though many details have shifted. Time here is circular, not linear. 25. Accidents, crises, and resilience. Markets occasionally face crises. Fires, floods, theft incidents, economic downturns, pandemics affecting foot traffic. In such times, something remarkable happens. Competitors become allies. Shops share storage space. Neighbors help each other rebuild. Money circulates informally to support recovery. This resilience proves that beneath profit lies community. The market survives not only because of commerce, but because of shared identity. 26. Philosophical reflection. What does a market teach about life? If someone truly observes New Market, they learn universal truths. Life is negotiation. Every decision carries unseen costs. Beauty can rise from disorder. Community is stronger than isolation. Change is inevitable, but roots matter. Markets mirror human society at its most truthful, raw, imperfect, striving, connected. New Market, continued. Markets as mirrors of society. A market is never only a physical place. It is a mirror that reflects the values, anxieties, aspirations, and contradictions of the people who use it. When we study New Market carefully, we begin to see society itself. 27. Class, status, and subtle boundaries. In New Market, people from many income levels walk side by side. Yet invisible lines exist. Some people enter confidently, feeling everything is affordable. Others walk hesitantly, measuring every rupee before spending. Some look at branded goods. Others bargain hard for necessities. The beauty of the market is that, despite these differences, everyone finds something suitable. But spending power shapes behavior. Those with more money often emphasize convenience. They prefer quick service, fixed prices, branded assurance. Those with limited income must be strategic. They compare, question, negotiate, wait for discounts, and stretch every coin. In this way, the market reveals economic inequality, yet also demonstrates how creativity allows survival within it. 28. Generational change. How youth view the market. Young people raised in a world of online shopping have a different relationship with places like New Market. They appreciate vintage aesthetics, retro signboards, authenticity, stories of heritage, the pleasure of discovering hidden gems. But they also demand faster billing, digital payments, clearer pricing, better organization, hygienic environments. Some find markets romantic, others find them Some find markets romantic, others find them crowded. Yet when they spend time there, many develop affection. They realize offline spaces offer emotional richness that screens cannot. A conversation with a friendly shopkeeper can sometimes make more impact than scrolling through endless online catalogs. 29. Technology arrives, slowly, reluctantly, inevitably. Over time, technology sneaks into new market like a polite but persistent visitor. QR code stands appear beside cash boxes. Digital wallets reduce the need for change. Inventory apps quietly replace manual notebooks. Online listings attract tourists before they even arrive. Some elders resist. We have done business this way for 40 years, why change now? Quote. Others embrace. Technology means survival. My children must take this forward. Quote. The coexistence of handwritten ledgers and smartphone screens creates a fascinating hybrid world, half tradition, half future. 30. The art of display. How goods speak. Displays in New Market are not accidental. They are storytelling techniques. Saris arranged in cascading color gradients. Shoes lined neatly like soldiers. Toys stacked to create towers of joy. Jewelry placed under lights that make stones glow. Each arrangement whispers, look at me. Imagine yourself with me. See how I fits into your dreams. Quote. The best shopkeepers understand psychology. They know placement can influence desire. A single well-arranged shelf can attract more customers than loud advertising. 31. Emotions hidden inside purchases. People rarely buy objects alone. They buy emotions attached to them. A mother buying a school bag may feel pride and worry. A bride choosing jewelry feels hope, nervousness, and anticipation. Anticipation. A tourist buying souvenirs feels nostalgia for a trip not yet finished. A poor family buying new clothes for a festival feels dignity. Every item wrapped in paper contains invisible stories. If we could unwrap emotions like receipts, we would see long histories behind each decision. 32. Conflict and resolution. No market is free from conflict. Sometimes there are arguments over pricing, misunderstandings about quality, accusations of cheating, quarrels between neighboring shops, disputes over space and territory. Yet markets survive because most conflicts end with compromise. A few calm words, a small discount offered, an apology exchanged, a handshake. Markets teach humanity how to live together despite friction. They demonstrate the art of reconciliation. 33. Memory of disasters, lessons not forgotten. There are moments in every historic market when disaster strikes, fire outbreaks, building collapses, or sudden tragedies. Though years pass, people still speak about them with hushed voices. These memories influence behavior. Shopkeepers store extinguishers. Guards pay extra attention. Evacuation routes are discussed. Storage practices improve. Pain becomes teacher. Markets continue because they learn. Sometimes slowly, sometimes painfully, but always forward. 34. Rituals of opening and closing. Observe closely, and you'll notice rituals. Morning rituals. Sweeping floors 3 times. Touching the threshold respectfully. Murmuring a quiet prayer. Arranging goods with care. Evening rituals. Counting cash carefully. Locking drawers. Covering goods with cloth. Thanking neighbors. Switching off lights one by one. These repetitive acts create rhythm, like breathing. They give psychological comfort, as if the market itself inhales at dawn and exhales at dusk. 35. Loneliness in the crowd. Crowds do not always mean connection. Sometimes a shopkeeper sits hours without customers. People walk past as if the shop is invisible. The owner forces a polite smile, hiding disappointment. Such days test patience. Markets contain loneliness hidden inside noise. Workers learn emotional discipline. They must remain welcoming even when discouraged. This invisible emotional labor often goes unnoticed. 36. Strangers becoming friends. Over years, regular customers transform into friends. They share news about children's exams, worries about health, updates about jobs, invitations to weddings. The boundary between shop and home blurs. Many customers continue shopping in the same stores not only because of quality, but because of relationships built through time. In this way, New Market becomes a community center disguised as a shopping complex. 37. Literature, films, and artistic imagination. Writers, filmmakers, and photographers often find inspiration in markets like New Market. They see visual drama, contrasting characters, layered emotions, poetic symbolism. Markets become backdrops for novels, scenes for cinema, subjects for photography exhibitions. Artists recognize that within these lanes lies a condensed version of human life, perfect material for storytelling. 38. Comparative lens, markets around the world. When we compare New Market to bazaars in Istanbul, souks in Morocco, night markets in Thailand, or flea markets in Europe, we see both similarity and uniqueness. Similarities: bargaining culture, social interaction, sensory richness, community history. Community history, uniqueness, regional crafts, colonial architecture, linguistic diversity, cultural blending specific to its city. Studying such comparisons helps us appreciate that markets are global expressions of human need, yet shaped beautifully by local identity. 39. Sustainability, lessons hidden in tradition. Modern sustainability movements emphasize reducing waste, supporting local production, repairing instead of replacing, valuing handmade goods. Yet many of these principles already existed in traditional markets. Buying local, seasonal produce, repairing broken items, reusing cloth bags, supporting neighborhood artisans. Sometimes progress means returning to wisdom we previously ignored. 40. The market is a living archive. Historians often study documents, monuments, or recorded events. But markets preserve living archives. Conversations become oral history. Routines become cultural habits. Shops become museums of daily life. Someone who observes New Market attentively for decades could write history without ever opening a formal archive. The market itself remembers. New Market, continued. Markets as living organisms. When we think of New Market as a living organism, every part plays a role. Corridors are arteries, shops are cells, people are the circulating lifeblood, and rules of trade are the nervous system coordinating everything. 41. Rhythm and flow. Markets have daily rhythms the way oceans have tides. Morning tide, cautious, quiet, exploratory. Midday tide, energetic, intense, noisy. Evening tide, pressured, hurried, decisive. But there are also weekly and yearly rhythms. Weekends mean heavier crowds. Festival seasons bring surges. Exam seasons may slow shopping. Wedding months transform entire sections into celebration zones. Anyone who works long enough learns to read these rhythms like weather. 42. Rules that aren't written anywhere. New market functions on dozens of unwritten rules. Don't loudly undercut your neighbor's price. Help a neighboring shop during emergencies. Respect long-standing vendors' space. Protect regular customers. Word spreads fast. Don't mislead tourists intentionally, it harms everyone. These rules survive not because they are enforced by law, but because they maintain harmony. Violation leads to social isolation, a punishment harsher than fines. 43. Apprenticeship and knowledge transmission. Trade knowledge rarely comes from textbooks here. It flows quietly through apprenticeship. A young worker watches silently. He learns when to smile, when to stay silent, how to recognize genuine leather, how to fold saris neatly, how to judge fabric quality by touch alone, how to calm angry customers without losing dignity. Over years, such skills become instinct. Markets are universities without classrooms. 44. Language, a bridge between worlds. Inside New Market, languages dance together. You hear Hindi for negotiation, Bengali for warmth and familiarity, English for tourists, fragments of other Indian languages. Sometimes, a single sentence mixes all three. Didi, ye best high, Dekie, original piece, last price bolo. Quote. Language becomes tool, art, survival strategy. The ability to switch tongues is economic power. 45. Trust and risk. Every business carries risk. Goods may get damaged. Customers may return items unfairly. Suppliers may disappear after taking advance payment. Government rules may suddenly change. Despite this uncertainty, trade continues because trust makes risk bearable. Trust circulates like currency. Between wholesaler and retailer. Between shopkeeper and worker. Between repeat customer and vendor. Break trust once, and the entire chain trembles. 46. Poverty and dignity. Markets do not hide poverty. They display it quietly. Some people walk through with dreams larger than their budget. They touch items gently, ask prices hesitantly, and leave silently. But even they deserve dignity. Many shopkeepers understand this. They speak kindly. They don't mock. Sometimes they reduce the price silently, saying, "Take it, festival is coming. Pay what you can." Quote. In these tiny gestures, humanity shines brighter than profit. 47. Festivals of light and shadow. Festivals bring both delight and exhaustion. Shops glow. Voices fill the air. Stock piles high. Money flows rapidly. Yet, behind the scenes, workers sleep less. Tensions rise. Mistakes multiply. Tempers occasionally flare. A festival in the market is a joyful storm, beautiful, powerful, demanding. 48. The unseen emotional burden of owners. From outside, owning a shop seems simple. But mentally, it carries weight. Owners worry constantly. Will next month's rent be manageable? What if foot traffic declines? What if a mall opens nearby? What if illness strikes? They cannot simply switch off anxiety at night. Business lives inside their minds even when shutters are down. Yet they continue, because stopping would mean letting dreams collapse. 49. Childhood memories that grow into heritage. Many adults remember childhood visits to New Market as magical events. Holding parents' hands. Receiving small gifts. Eating something special afterward. Watching colorful lights and toys. Those memories mature into nostalgia. Years later, they return with their own children, repeating rituals. In this way, markets pass across generations not only physically but emotionally. 50. Outsiders who make it home. Not everyone in New Market is local. Many arrive from distant towns and villages, chasing livelihoods. At first, they feel lost, Different accent, unfamiliar customers, strange surroundings. Slowly. Neighbors help. Language adapts. Routines stabilize. Over time, they become part of the living fabric. Their children grow up calling the market home. Quote 51. Markets as social safety nets. When tragedy strikes, illness, death in the family, accidental loss, fellow shopkeepers sometimes organize small funds or collections. No formal institution manages this. It emerges from empathy. Community becomes insurance. Markets reveal an ancient truth. Humans survive best when they care for one another beyond profit. 52. Philosophy of enough. In a world obsessed with more, New Market whispers another philosophy. Earn honestly, live decently, grow slowly, protect relationships. Greed destroys reputation. Balanced ambition sustains generations. Some of the oldest shops survive not because they chased enormous profit, but because they practiced moderation. 53. Nighttime stories. Long after customers leave, market corridors echo faintly. A calm silence settles, interrupted only by guards walking slowly. At this hour, the market feels like a grand theater after the show. You can almost imagine shelves sighing with relief, counters stretching like tired arms, mannequins resting after standing alert all day. Night makes the market poetic. It reminds us that every active world needs rest. 54. The ethics of customers. We often talk about ethical businesses, but ethical customers also matter. A responsible customer avoids unnecessary rudeness, respects time, pays fair prices, avoids exploiting workers, doesn't damage goods intentionally. Markets thrive when both sides act with mutual respect. 55. Why markets like New Market should be protected. If such places disappear, what else disappears with them? Bargaining culture, apprenticeship traditions, living heritage, local crafts, community bonds, small business dreams. Replacing them entirely with malls and online platforms would simplify life, but also flatten it, making experiences less human and less surprising. Heritage markets remind us who we are. The rhythm of commerce, daily life inside New Market. To truly understand New Market, one must look beyond the brick corridors, beyond the displays, beyond even the bargains. The true essence lives in the rhythm of daily life, the opening shutters, the greetings exchanged, the laughter drifting through the halls, the quiet anxieties of shopkeepers, and the tiny victories that define each working day. Morning preparations. Before the crowds arrive, New Market is almost meditative. The first rays of dawn spill over the aging facade. A few pigeons flutter along the parapets. The gates creak open, not dramatically, but with the same familiar tiredness that comes from years of service. Inside, shopkeepers begin a ritual that has barely changed in more than a century. Cloth merchants unfold their rolls of fabric carefully, almost reverently. They dust their counters and arrange saris, shirts, and bolts of cloth like artists arranging their tools before painting. Confectionaires unwrap trays of sweets, placing them neatly, often choosing the prettiest ones for display in glass cases. Florists arrive with bundles of fresh marigold, jasmine, roses, and tube roses tied in tightly packed bunches. Soon the air is scented with something both earthy and divine. Jewelry shops polish their gold and silver pieces until each shines under the yellow lights, promising possibility. And gradually, conversation begins to flow. How was business yesterday? Any news? Tea? Quote. Someone always brings steaming cups in small glass tumblers or clay cups. The aroma of tea, strong, sugary, and fragrant with ginger, mingles with the smell of incense and fresh vegetables. Morning in New Market feels like a deep breath before the storm. The first customers. Early customers tend to come with purpose. Office workers picking up flowers. Housewives buying fruits. Restaurant workers collecting supplies. Tailors checking fabric shipments. Tourists wandering in with maps or smartphones. Bargains are still calm at this hour. Shopkeepers are more patient, more conversational. They speak about childhood memories, rising prices, children's education, festivals, and old times when the market felt different. Many of them say the same line, half serious, half playful. New Market is not just where we work. It is where our life lives. Quote. And truly, for some families, 3 generations, sometimes 4, have worked in the same stall. The growing afternoon rush. By afternoon, the tempo changes. The market becomes louder. Footsteps echo through the corridors. The clatter of utensils from food stalls joins the chorus. Street vendors outside call for attention. Cheap price. Last piece. Best quality. Quote. Inside, bargaining becomes theatrical. A price is quoted. The buyer laughs. The seller feigns shock. Voices rise. A calculator appears. Finally, both sides smile, as though the argument was never about money, but about tradition itself. Because bargaining in New Market is not conflict. It is culture. It is dance. It is participation. To buy without bargaining almost feels disrespectful, as though one refused to join the performance. Stories hidden behind the shops. Every shop in New Market carries a story, and those stories exist not only in ledgers or signboards, but in human memories. The sweet shop that survived 3 fires. There is a famous sweet shop inside New Market that has survived multiple crises, floods, fires, power cuts, and economic recessions. An elderly owner once said, "People will always celebrate, and celebrations need sweets. That is why we survived." Quote. He remembers stories his grandfather shared. Horse carriages waiting outside. British officers buying sweets for parties. Indian families ordering trays during weddings. Refugee families arriving after partition, still finding comfort in a piece of mishti. Today, his grandson runs the counter. The recipes remain mostly unchanged. Sugar, milk, patience, and memory. The tailor who became a legend. Somewhere deep inside the maze, there is a tailor known for stitching perfect blouses and suits. People travel from far-off neighborhoods just to have their clothes designed by him. He doesn't advertise. He doesn't rush.